welcome to another Unwinding with Fiber and Fabric and the start of Tour de Fleece 2025. I am recording this video on the 4th with the intent of uploading it today. I know that out there in the world there is a few people who are now already in July 5th. And while it is the wee hours of the morning when I record this video for them, they may be spinning. The Tour de France doesn't start for a few more hours. However, there will be people who will spin on the 5th before the Tour de France starts, and that is perfectly okay. Tour de Fleece is an event, a social event, a spinning event that encourages us to challenge ourselves and to enjoy enjoy spinning. And maybe even share spinning with others, whether it is through local yarn shops, spinning in the park, or like my son did a few years ago, spinning at a local historical site. So, Tour de Fleece is beginning. I will start spinning tomorrow Eastern Standard Time. I will start spinning tomorrow morning, and I will probably be recording another video. My goal, after talking with my family, my goal is to spin every day of spinning, but to only upload videos on Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Spending more time with my family and getting other projects done on the Sunday, Monday, and Tuesdays of the week. However, if you hit subscribe and the little notification bell, you will be notified anytime I upload a video. So if I decide to change my mind, you won't miss out on a single video. So you may notice I have a few wheels and some fiber here. That is because what I wanted to talk about in this video just before I start my Tour de Fleece is my challenge of 2025. Now, I've done lots of different personal challenges, different fibers, themes, skill building over the years. But this year, my challenge is recording a video of me spinning with my son. My son and I have spun together in the past, but due to his job and other circumstances, we have not been able to spin in quite a number of years. And he hasn't been able to spin since 2020. So this year, he and I will be spinning every morning together, trying to help him remember his spinning skills. He was very unique. He's a very unique spinner. He didn't really take to it when he was younger, but then he had an opportunity just before he went into the military to spin with me. And all of a sudden he went from really beginning spinning quality, thick and thin and inconsistent, to like a snap of the fingers. He started spinning very consistent singles that were so consistent, he was very seldom having anything left on a bobbin when he plied the singles together. So he went very consistent very quickly. He then started branching out a little bit in how he was spinning and the fibers he was spinning, but the demands of life and his situation not only led him to eventually putting aside spinning, but actually setting aside most of his crafting. And now, after a great deal of rest and recovery, he is ready to start spinning again. So he has a wheel much like this one. It is a Kromsky Sonata. Actually, it is exactly like this one. In fact, now that I look at it, this is his wheel. My wheel is in the other room. I have a Kromsky Sonata as well. If you've watched my past videos, you'll see I usually use it to ply. This is his wheel. It is a single drive, double treadle, single drive Scotch tension wheel. It is a wonderful wheel. It folds up. It was the perfect wheel for his situation, his smaller living situation, his potential of moving. It is a really good wheel. It has a great, and no, I'm not a Kromsky sponsor. I'm not being sponsored by Kromsky. I just love their wheels. But the Sonata was the first wheel I purchased, and it has a lot of ratio. It has a lot of potential depending on what flyer you're putting on it. I tend to use mine only for plying, so it always has the jumbo flyer on it. His is set up right now with the standard flyer, and he's going to be using this to remember how to spin. But he has never spun on a double drive. Single drive, one drive band. If you look here at this wheel, you'll see on the other side there, 2 drive bands. It's actually one drive band that has been twisted into a figure 8. One part of the drive band goes over the bobbin, one part of the drive band goes over the whirl. And so it does not need the Scotch tension. I'm going to turn this wheel around just a little bit so you can see the back. The Scotch tension is a little cord that goes over the bobbin to help control how much the bobbin spins and how the take-up of the spinning. So one drive band going over the whirl in the front in this case, and a Scotch tension in the back. My Kromsky Minstrel, which is in the picture over here, it does have the ability to be a single drive spinning wheel. And I have actually used it in the past as a single drive. It's really interesting to compare a double drive to a single drive. I like the double drive because I do like to spin thin, I like to spin lace, and I like how it pulls in the fiber without me having to adjust anything. However, my preference for plying will always be the Scotch tension. That gives me so much more control as the bobbin starts getting full and heavy to pull that fiber in. On the double drive, I find it is perfect for all of my single spinning. So I have a double drive and I have a single drive, and my son's never spun on the double drive. So he is going to be remembering how to spin on his Sonata and then potentially trying out some fiber on the double drive of the Minstrel just to see how it feels differently. I have at one point, I think, set it up, as I said, for a single drive with a Scotch tension, but I don't currently have it set up as such. I simply go back to my Sonata when I want to have a single drive spin experience. Over here, you'll have just a peek of my other wheel. It is my Kromsky Symphony. It is my workhorse. It has a much larger working wheel than either of my other 2 wheels. It's what I do most of my spinning on. However, one thing is that I have it dialed in for my favorite spinning yarn, my favorite to work with single. I have it dialed in for that, and I hate to move it around. I hate to change it. And so that's why I really love having a second wheel for spinning my Minstrel, because I can do a different style of yarn with it. The Minstrel has the smallest working wheel of any of my wheels, and it is really lovely when I'm trying to do a very relaxing, slow, especially fluffy spin. So those are the wheels that we're going to be doing, and that is the challenge that I have for Tour de Fleece 2025. I'm not going to worry about trying to learn any new spinning technique or challenge myself to accomplish a certain amount of fiber spun. Nope. This year, my challenge is to be simply the companion as somebody else is refining their skills. He has his own set of goals, and he'll be sharing them on Ravelry. He may be even sharing them on his Instagram, but I do know he will sharing them on Ravelry. You can find him as the Inspirator. I will put a link to our Ravelry profiles in the description below so you can find us. And my job is to support his challenges, his wanting to learn. There are things that he had tried a little bit beforehand, like chain plying, that he hadn't had a chance to really refine, and now he's going to be trying that some more. He's going to be spinning from the lock. He's going to be spinning from comb to top. He's going to be spinning from roll logs and puni. It's all going to be animal fibers, but it is going to be a exploration and a refresher course in spinning for my son. So my challenge is to record, to support, and to upload. That is my challenge, and to do so without any flat tires, knocking on some wood here, to do so without any flat tires, any crashes, any exhaustion, or at least no more than what would be a standard normal for any regular Tour de Fleece experience. So I hope that you will be watching my videos that as I post them, as I share with you the spinning journey of Tour de Fleece 2025. There will be videos in which I'm talking to you, and there will be videos that may only be showing you our spinning. I'm hoping to have a format that does both, that shows us doing a little bit of spinning each morning that we are planning to upload, and we'll go from there. So now, before I go into telling you about my fiber that I'm going to do, which is one of the other two topics I wanted to cover today, I also wanted to let you know, if you're looking for spinning videos to just follow along with as you're doing your Tour de Fleece spinning, to my amazement, yes, I've made over 250 videos that a good portion of them are spinning videos, and you can find them. I've put them in playlists. You can find all of my different Tour de Fleece videos, especially my Countdown to Christmas spinning videos. You can find all of these videos in my playlists on my channel. If you go there, you can find them. So after that little plug, just letting you know that they're out there. If you would like to have just somebody spinning and some other spinning videos, they're there. Now, my fiber. All right. I have a bunch of fibers. I've loaded them on Ravelry so you can see the projects. But I have two fibers that I wanted to talk about today because they help you understand how when you have a prepped fiber, you can still choose to change up how you're going to use them. This is my Tour de Fleece rainbow. Every year I want to do a rainbow. It's not a full rainbow this year. And I always like to have some little fun theme. And this year I was inspired by sherbet, or sorbet. In essence, ice cream treat, okay, or frozen treat. I have had these little boxes of sherbet that we've been eating in these hot days back in June, and I decided this would be a great inspiration for my color spin of 2025. I don't have a yellow in it because the yellow, this is all exhaust. These are all fibers that I used to exhaust the rainbow spin that I ended up giving all my fiber and his fiber to my son. So I'm sure I'm showing a picture. We dyed up a bunch of Romney lock, and I was going to spin that as my sherbet inspired spin. He had, 6 to 12 colors. I can't remember now. I think he had 6 colors, and I think I was supposed to have 6 colors, or I gave him 8 colors and I only was going to have 4 colors. Either way, my colors were just a little too dark and intense to really be the sherbet inspired, the fruity inspired fibers that I wanted to do. And normally when I dye, because I don't use a lot of precision calculations and weighing of fiber and dye, I usually end up having a lot of dye left over that I need to use up. So what I tend to do is I keep fiber like this on hand. I keep some roving on hand. In this case, it's merino, that I put into the dye bath to exhaust all of the excess dye. Doing my best to use up all the dye so that all I have is clear water when I'm left over. And I have some other colors in addition to these that I may end up spinning if I'm really spinning a lot this year. But these are my sherbet sorbet type colors. We have lime, we have, I don't know if the sherbet was strawberry or cherry. It was some pink, whatever pink that was. But I'm going to say this is strawberry, lime, and orange. And you notice there's 2 oranges because orange is one of those colors that I find really hard to fully exhaust. So I just kept putting more fiber in until the water was running clear. So those are my merino. They were merino roving that we did. And there's a total there of, I have it written down here, 116 grams. Now, I could just open up the braids, okay? I could just open up the braids, pull off a section like that, and spin it, and then just rotate between the individual colors. I could actually go to the blending board and blend some of these colors if I wanted to. I could spin all one color and have it multiple plies. So an orange, 2 orange plies, a pink ply, and a green ply. I can do that. But what I've been thinking I want to do, okay, I'll get one more braid here. So this is showing. Now this fiber, after it's been dyed, it tends to sometimes become a little clumped, not felted. You may be worried, but it picks apart just beautifully, see? But it can become a little compressed in the dyeing process. So taking a few minutes and opening up the fiber, fluffing it up like this, is always something I recommend. So I could just do this. I could tear it all apart into these little clumps like that, okay? And I could spin it like that. I could just fluff this up, spin a little, pick up another section, spin a little. But what I think I'm going to do to make this more random, and I could card it. I could go and take these and card it into roll logs. As I said, I could put it on the blending board and blend some of the color. Any of these things would be an option. So if you have prepared fiber, don't hold yourself back thinking you have to spin it from this. You could turn it into something else. And I thought about making these all little roll logs. I like the idea of the blending board. That could be really fun. But if I wanted it to be a little bit of a stripy rainbow, it would be better if I left these a little bit more intact. But if I take the time to pull apart each of the braids, okay, and fluff it up like this, what I am creating is a pile of cloud. I'm not worried about what direction the fibers are in. I'm not worried about what direction I spin them in. And I could make a large pile of this ready to grab. Will it fit in my little container anymore? No, it will not, because I'm trying to put the air back in it. And so that's probably, let me grab this tin or this bin. That is probably what I'm going to do. Rather than putting a whole lot more blending board or any of that, I'm going to leave it a little bit intact, but I'm going to section and fluff this fiber so that when I'm spinning from the cloud. If I put lots and lots of air in this fiber, I'm hoping it'll be an airy spin. Now, with that being said, that could backfire. Now that it's all open and airy and tiny, I might end up going, ooh, let's spin tiny, 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 very, very fine, making a lot more work for myself. So another way I could do it is I could just come into the fiber. That one's actually needs to be completely fluffed. I haven't fluffed that one yet. Let's go into this. This one's a little more fluff. I could come in and strip off strips like this and spin these and roll. I could roll them into little like I'll show you. Strip this off. See, little piece at a time. I could strip this off and I could coil it and have a whole pile of coils. If I do this, this will spin up really fast and I'm more likely to keep all the air because that's almost a single in itself, like pencil roving. So this will probably be the spin I start tomorrow. So if you tune into tomorrow's video, you'll see, am I going to spin it from more of a cloudy fluff or default back to this? This is how I spun my Countdown to Christmas yarns in the 2020 Tour de Fleece second part, because that year we had 2 Tour de Fleeces because of all of the illness issue and the rescheduling of the Tour de France. So if you tune in tomorrow, you'll see me spinning. I'll either be spinning something like this or maybe something like this. We'll see. So that is fiber 1. The second fiber I wanted to share, trying to keep this video just a little bit shorter. The second fiber I wanted to share is this. This was some of the fiber that I just lightly blended. It's 2 different CVM fleeces, portions of 2 different CVM fleeces, and I wanted to blend them together. I carded them through, it looks like once, but never sent them through the drum carder a second time. They are somewhat blended. This fiber is one that I did at the beginning, closer to the beginning of June. It's become a little compressed as I have stored it. And if I sat down and tried to just rip off some of this and spin it, it would not be as pleasant of a spin as it could be. So again, much like with the other fiber I showed you, here's a fiber that's become compressed. It's not prepped completely as I might want it to be. And there is nothing stopping me from taking this to hand cards, to a blending board, back to the drum carder, and processing it again. I can also tear off a clump, just like that, and I can hand pick all of it open, blending it together, messing up the fibers, and spin it from the cloud. So you, as the spinner, you can make decisions. Don't feel like you have to spin your fiber in the way it was prepped, especially if you are purchasing your fiber or if you are trying to do, as I'm doing, use up stuff that's been in your stash for a while. Feel free to play around with it, recard it, open it up, spin it from the cloud, make it into an easier for you to spin. Tear off certain sections, make roll logs. If you like spinning roll logs, turn them into roll logs. That little bit of extra work in the preparation will make the spinning journey much more enjoyable. So that is what I'm going to do with this fiber. I'm going to process it into another finished prep. Do I know how? Not yet, because this is going to be one of the last fibers I spin. So there's still plenty of days to try to decide what I'm going to do with it or how I'll spin it. I'll spin the rest of the stuff. Oops. I'll spin the rest of the stuff first, and then as I get closer to this, I'll decide how I'm wanting to spin it. This is fiber that had been separated that I had sent to my son years ago, that when he moved back to the area, that he hadn't spun it, so I went ahead and processed it. It's very, very squishy. It's 100% CVM. It's very, very squishy. There's no lanolin left in it, so that's not a problem, but it is very, very squishy. And I think it would be a much more wonderful spin if maybe I turned them into roll logs or something of that nature. If nothing else, as I said, opening up the fiber. These bats have become quite compressed and they need to be fluffed. And it's just a matter of picking it apart a little. I think if I turn it into roll logs, the fact that I didn't make sure to remove all the neps and short bits, I think it'll be a much more enjoyable spin. All right, so I've talked about my wheels. I've talked about my fiber prepped. The two things I will just wrap up to remind, there are different style of wheels. This is little Whimsy coming to say hi to us. There are different styles of wheels. There are single treadle. There are double treadle. There are double drive, Scotch tension. There's Irish tension. There are different types of wheels out there. Finding one that works for you, finding one that fits for you, that you're comfortable with, can sometimes be a challenge. She's over here trying to check out the wheel in a little bit less than kind way. She has a tendency to like to chew on bits and pieces if I don't watch her, especially if I'm talking to the camera. So, as I said, there's different types of wheels. Don't feel like the fact that you sometimes have to change style of wheels change wheels. Sometimes the wheel that you first get, you love, you never change. Sometimes the wheel that you loved, say 10 years ago, you don't love some more because while the wheel hasn't changed, you've changed. So be open to the notion of getting a different wheel if you're finding you are struggling with your current wheel. Not all wheels are made the same. There are some that I have sat down and tried that are beautiful wheels. And I suspect, and from the reviews I hear from other people, they're wonderful wheels and people love them. But when I sat down to spin on them, they made my hips hurt. And that's a big deal. If you're going to be spinning, you want to mitigate. If you're in pain, you need to find out why you're in pain. That's one of the lessons I learned last year. Find out why you're in pain. Do what you can to mitigate it. Sometimes it has nothing to do with your bad posture or good posture. Sometimes it's because there's something that has changed mechanically as we age. And the wheel that we loved spinning on when we were younger no longer feels as comfortable to us as we age. So that's the other reason I want to talk about the wheels, is there are differences. We can certainly develop our preferences and our favorites. But if you're having trouble with your wheel, consider the other options. My husband even kind of joked with me yesterday when I was talking to him, and he said, yeah, are we getting closer to when you're going to need to have an e-spinner? I'm putting off the e-spinner for the simple fact that I do like spinning on my wheel, but it is getting a little harder for me to put in the amount of time on the wheel because of some issues I have with my my physiology. And you can do a whole lot to improve your health, but you can't necessarily push back time or genetics. So the wheels, we love them, but be wise in using them. And I can see that I'm getting closer to the end of time. I will say one last thing. So I talked about the wheels again. Fiber. Just because a fiber looks beautiful in the braid, just because the bat is gorgeous, does not mean you have to spin it from the braid or from that gorgeous bat. Once you have purchased or created, or in essence brought home that fiber, feel free to turn it into your favorite prep. Yeah, it's nice to learn how to do other preps. It's nice to learn how to advance our spinning repertoire, but it is your fiber, it is your spin, and it is your yarn you're trying to create. So if you have a favorite fiber, if you have a favorite color, if you have this beautiful bat, don't hesitate to take a little bit of time to prep it in your favorite prep. And that's one of the great things about Tour de Fleece. It gives us an opportunity to sit down and compare. Grab one of those bats, grab one of those rovings, split it into 3 sections, prepare it in 3 different ways, and compare the yarn. You might find, as you compare the different ways of spinning it and the different yarn it produces, you might find you have a favorite. All right, I'm going to let it go with that. Thank you for joining me for another Unwinding with Fiber and Fabric and the beginning of Tour de Fleece 2025. Until tomorrow, happy spinning. Bye-bye.